Hello and welcome to Sestra-Tainment.
Sestra-Tainment.
I'm Lenora.
And I'm Dee.
And we're coming to you today in regards to everything entertainment.
Yeah,
and so this week I'm actually going to go first. And this week I have, it seems like the show that everybody is talking about.
Oh God, here we go.
Monster, the Jeffery Dahmer story.
Yeah.
So it is on Netflix. It's a Ryan Murphy story and kind of from the American crime story family, so to speak. And it's about Jeffrey Dahmer. And, you know, it's one of those things that I had to take it in doses. Like, this is not something that I can tell people to binge because I personally couldn't binge it. It's very dark.
I binged it and it was no
You
problem.
were able to binge it. I couldn't binge it. It was too dark. It was too disturbing. And it just creeped me out. Not from a perspective of like, I can't sleep at night. You know, I'm nervous, I'm scared. But it was more of how diabolical and twisted and horrible he was, for a lack of a better way of saying it. So it also bothered me a little bit because I was trying to figure out, are they trying to explain away some of the things that Jeffrey Dahmer did, like through things that happened in his childhood and childhood trauma? Or is it that they were trying to bring light and attention to the families and the victims? And that part, I think that a lot of things that they've done to this point didn't really spell out as much, maybe at least that I had seen, things that the family had gone through and what the family had experienced. But yeah, so long story short, I mean, I think you can just say the last name Dahmer and everybody knows who you're talking about. But yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer was basically a serial killer. He killed 17 men back in the 90s, early 90s. And so
It was 78, 89, and then the rest were 90s.
Right, that's true, because he started younger, and then he killed most of the people in the early 90s. And so basically the story kind of starts, I'll just kind of start with the first episode. It's like, I don't know if you can really have spoilers for something that was literally the talk of everything back in the early 90s, and everybody knew of Dahmer and everybody knew of some of the stuff that he did. But basically the story for this Netflix show, it's a series of 10 episodes, basically covered how Jeffrey Dahmer, who's played by Evan Peters, he does an amazing job.
Oh, really good,
playing Jeffrey Dahmer. I couldn't even fathom, like, how can he play Jeffrey Dahmer? He doesn't even look like Jeffrey Dahmer. But by the time you're watching it, it's like the mannerisms, the voice, the cadence of how he acts this out has you truly believe he could be a serial killer, you know? And so basically it's all about how he would go. In this first episode, he went to this club. He met a guy. Basically, the way that the story is that, and I mean, I guess the real life of it all, is that Jeffrey Dahmer really hung around a lot of gay clubs and things of that nature, would slip drugs into somebody's drink and say he would buy them a drink. And then in the process of doing that, he would get them either to a bathhouse or get them at one point to his home, and then just basically do whatever he wanted to with the people. And so you had where in the first episode, a guy comes to Jeffrey's house, they're, you know, hanging out, they're talking, and the guy starts to realize that Jeffrey is acting pretty strange. And he's kind of smart, so he kind of puts together like, okay, something is up with this guy and he's a little different. And so therefore, and at this point, this is like one of the later victims. And so basically, well, I might as well say it, the last victim, because basically he ends up laying on the bed with Dahmer, and Dahmer puts his head on his chest and is basically like, I just want to hear your heartbeat. And the guy's like, okay, something to that effect. And then he's like, because I'm going to eat it. And it's like, what? And then, of course, you know, heart's beating faster, things, you know, just elude, and, you know, and he kind of fakes it. Like, he's like, oh, I'm into you. Like, he tries to dance for him and, like, does different things.
He plays it smart.
He plays it really
Super
smart so that he can hopefully get away, to the point that Jeffrey leaves the room. He gets ready to run, and Jeffrey's back, like, in 0.05 seconds. And then he's like, well, I'm just here. I'm just chilling. Like, it's all good. You know, like what, you know? So anyway, but he finally does escape. He gets out. He runs down the street. He's screaming. This guy's trying to kill me. This guy is trying to kill me. Basically, kill me, eat me, whatever the case may be. And that brings the cops to Jeffrey Dahmer's. And therefore, they end up kind of not really, that's the thing about this show, is it really gives you an understanding of how he got away with it for so long, because it becomes that the people that he targeted, being mainly minority males who are gay, are the people the police aren't going to believe over a white male. So basically, he just tells them something like, oh, this is my boyfriend. Oh, this is my person. Oh, we just were having some kinky sex. And like, do you want to hear about it? And of course, these cops back then are like, no. Of course, I don't want to hear about that. And then he gets away with it, as opposed to, you know, the black people or Hispanic people or, you know, Filipinos, whoever, who are just trying to get their story across and nobody will listen. And that also leads to Glenda, the next door neighbor. So Glenda actually is like, I'm hearing screams.
Yeah, and
I'm
she's
hearing
played by Niecy Nash.
Yes, Niecy Nash plays Glenda. And so it is, you know, I'm hearing screams, I'm hearing noises, I'm hearing drills, I'm hearing all this stuff. Something is going on over there. And oh, by the way, the stench and the smell from over there is horrendous.
Yeah, because it was coming through the vents into
It was
her
coming
apartment.
through the vents into her apartment. And so basically, come to find out, the character of Glenda is someone who in real life lived near Jeffrey Dahmer, but did not live directly beside Jeffrey Dahmer. Instead, that person's name is Pamela. And so Pamela actually considered herself to be a friend of Jeffrey. She was like, he was very nice. He was very sweet. And this is in real life. Like she was like, he was a nice, sweet guy. He would do anything for anybody in the building. And then it became, he would always make meats for our parties. And she was like, now I don't know in real life how many times I ate human meat as opposed to eating.
Yeah, because he worked at a butcher shop.
He worked at a butcher shop for part of that time.
So him being like, I'm bring some meat.
Yeah,
and everybody's
exactly.
like, oh yeah, you work at a butcher shop. That sounds great.
Exactly.
But you're probably eating like somebody's thigh.
Oh my God. I mean, it's just so disturbing and disgusting. And so basically,
Talk about a Boston butt. I'm trying to say.
I can't with you. I cannot.
I'm just saying, like, I mean, like, that's just, I don't know.
I don't know. It's just extremely disturbing. That's all I can say. And so there's a few stories that really got to me. One was a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah. And
that story, they had a story with a person who was deaf. And the interesting thing about the deaf person who he ended up murdering, which his name was Tony Hughes, that Tony actually and him, you know, all their friends, all the friends of Tony said that him and Dahmer actually did date and hung out together for like a year.
Yeah, for a while, yeah.
Or almost two. Whereas when Jeffrey Dahmer, because he was so matter of fact and so like just explaining things when the cops finally caught him, he's like, well, I guess the family does want some closure, so let me go ahead and just say what happened. But he would not establish that timeline. He said he just met him that night and he did it the same night. But everybody else in the network is like, no, he actually liked him and vice versa, and they were actually like a couple, for lack of a better way of saying it. And Jeffrey Dahmer never agreed to that, basically. So, or never confessed to it being like that. He just said it was a one night or the next night kind of thing. But basically, but a lot of that was just heart and gut wrenching, you know, to just see what he would do, to see how even when people were outside talking to the police, trying to get them to understand that this boy was 14 years old, why would you release him back into the custody of Dahmer for Dahmer to now kill him? It's no words. So anyway, it is, like I said, if you're not into murder.
Yeah, if you don't want to, if you don't like watching like scary movies that could possibly be true life story things, then don't watch this. This will jack you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it is very tough. I know that I have listened to some like on Sirius XM, some shows and things like that. And there's like 2 or 3 people who are like, I tried, I started to watch it, and I just couldn't get past like episode 2. Like it was just too disturbing. It's too tough to watch. And then plus, I mean, people could feel triggered too because of the fact that, hey, I am a gay man. And then knowing that there's somebody out here who was doing that, and or somebody who could see this show and then decide that they want to do this going forward. Like there's probably potentially copycat things that people might.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's one of those things that the story was told, but then as you're watching the story, you're like, do they really need to tell this story?
Yeah, no. Then, that's what Ryan Murphy does with all of his shows. Yeah. When he does the Versace, when he did the Versace, when he did the impeachment, when he did the OJ one. So I feel like he's getting from both sides. Like he's a fly on the wall. Yeah. I feel like that's what his point of view is. A fly on the wall. Just seeing what's happening.
Yeah, because they probably had family members of I guess like the storyline from like Glenda's character, which was a combo of two different people that they just put into one character. And then you had the family of the, I can't think of the last name of the family, but they were Filipino, I believe. Yeah. And so therefore you had that family story.
Their last name was long. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it was Smith. It was almost looked like Smithsonian, but it wasn't that word. And then you had the family of the Hugheses, and then you had and then you had the court scenes where they said they took right from the script of what actually happened in the transcripts. And basically, so you have where once he is on trial and, convicted, then you have the family members who come up and say what they need to say to him. And they reenacted those things. Yeah,
the girl who did Arrow, I was just like, I could feel that.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, so that is Monster. I feel like all of my everything that I'm talking about, I'm going to talk about people who aren't likable. Okay. So basically, but that's my first one. So Monster, Jeffrey Dahmer story, and it's on Netflix.
Is it Monster or Dahmer? Dahmer.
It's Dahmer, Monster, a Jeffrey Dahmer story. Yeah. So I was just leaving off the first part of Dahmer. But yeah, I guess when you're searching for it, Dahmer is the first word at the top. But when you Google it, it's Monster. Yeah. So it's weird as to how it's written on their screen versus how it's actually with the actual name of it.
Well, I'm going to lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate
so I have
that.
an honorable mention, and then I also have a comedy show. So honorable mention is for Pinocchio.
Okay.
So Pinocchio is out.
Oh.
Tom Hanks is Geppetto.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You got Jordan Gordon-Levitt. He is Jiminy Cricket.
Okay.
So, I mean, you have a lot of good people. Yeah. You have Cynthia Evero. She is the fairy that comes, the blue fairy that comes and grants Pinocchio the life and everything. Okay. Yeah. So, it's a really good cast. I myself was not really big into it. It also is like, what's his name? Keegan-Michael Key is in it. And it's a lot of people in this, but I mean, I couldn't stay watching it the whole time. And then you know why you didn't hear a lot about it? Because everybody's talking about The Little Mermaid now.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's just like, Pinocchio's coming out, but did you see everything about The Little Mermaid? Because that's another live interactive movie. So but that was my honorable mention is Pinocchio. Okay. All right. So the one that I do want to talk about right now is the Miss Pat Show. Okay. So Miss Pat.
Oh, I was like, who did you say? Miss Pat Show. Yeah. Got it.
So Miss Pat is she was renewed for a second season. So season 2 came out. I binge watched it. Okay. I love the show because it's so real. It's just like. It's like the lady who lives across the street that you know all about her life. You know what I'm saying? Like she's the funny lady that lives across the street. So Miss Pat is a comedian, and what she did is like how her comedy is she basically just talks about her life, but people laugh at what the trauma and pain that other people actually went through. So her doing stand-up and stuff like that ended up getting her a TV show on BET Plus. So Miss Pat, so she's a woman that came from a hard life in like Atlanta. So she now lives in a predominantly white suburbs in middle America. She's like in like Arkansas or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's somewhere. I can't remember what. Maybe Wisconsin. I don't know, somewhere. Okay. So she has 3 kids. She has her 20-something-year-old son that lives in the basement. Okay. She has her daughter who is super smart, very intelligent, like goody two shoes, doesn't do anything bad. Like she doesn't even know she wants to like date a boy. Like she doesn't even like, she's just like, I'm just doing my stuff. I'm just trying to get up out of here.
Oh, bless Junebug's heart.
Bless his heart. If you don't understand what bless your heart means, that's a way of being like, oh, you were something else. You were so special. But she also has her sister who lives with her. But actually, Miss Pat kicked her sister out in season 1.
Oh.
So season 2 actually touches on that and everything. Basically, like, touched on that and how their relationship was kind of like the turmoil and everything in that. He's the breadwinner. He's at home. I mean, he's working. He'll wash the clothes and like clean up the house and everything because he is doing all that he can to make sure that she can go ahead and pursue her stand-up comedy career.
Okay.
So as she's doing all of this, she's like going and meeting different people. She's like doing stand-up comedy at like a strip club. Oh. She's doing stand-up comedy like in random bars. So, you know, she does do this a lot. She goes to like different states and everything. But I mean, I think the show is really funny. She talks about her sister being a crackhead. She talks about how she got shot in the back of the head by her baby daddy. She talks about, and like, you know, she like talks about it like jokingly. She talks about like her childhood and how she grew up. And like, there's some sentimental things, but there's still some kind of like funny things, dealing with that. And, you know, she's just an open book. So that's what makes the show so good. Because she's like, there's one episode where, with her being in a predominantly white neighborhood, there was somebody who breaks into all of the white neighbors' houses and not hers. Oh. Yes. So, and they drew a sketch picture of what the person looked like breaking into the house and looked just like her husband. Oh, no. So when they go to like the little neighborhood watch meetings, they're just like, so your house got broken into? Oh my God, that's so sad. What'd they take? And they go to Miss Pat. She just like, they ain't touched none of my stuff. And they were just like, oh, that's strange because if you look at this picture and then like everybody gets quiet and then you hear the audience like, ooh, you know. So yeah, so then it goes into all that and it goes into that shenanigans and everything that goes into that. So that is a funny episode, but then it's still kind of sad, but it is still kind of funny. Yeah. But the cast is really good. So Patricia Williams plays Miss Pat. Okay. You have J. Bernard Calloway playing Turek, her husband. Okay. You have Tammy Roman. Tammy Roman. Tammy came from, was it Real World?
Yeah, Real World. One of the first early seasons.
Yeah. So Tammy's from Real World, and she is Denise, which is her crackhead sister. Oh, okay. You have Brianna Guadalupe, who plays Janelle, the really smart daughter. You have Theodore Barnes that plays Junebug. Bless his heart. Oh. Bless his heart. And then you have Vince Swan, who plays her oldest son, the 20-some-year-old that's in the basement. Now, there's somebody who I saw on this show, and I was like, I have not seen him since 1994. Oh, wow. This is Sean Harrison. He goes by, his name on the show is William. He is one of the comedy spot that they go to for her to do stand-up. He is... the guy who was like the host, and then he tells jokes and everything in between it. He is from Family Matters. He's, what's his name, Waldo? Was it Waldo from Family Matters? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. I hadn't seen him in so long. He looks exactly the same, but just got gray hair.
Gray hair, yeah, because he used to always play like just a ditzy character on the show or something.
But so, okay, so just imagine his character in Family Matters. That's Junebug in Miss Pat show. Bless his heart. Bless Junebug's heart. But yeah, but if you have a chance, definitely check out the Miss Pat show. There's 2 seasons. It's on BET Plus. I definitely want to boost it up because she's definitely working on her career. Yeah. And now that Tiffany Haddish is no longer has a career, I guess. Oh my gosh. She can be the new one because she has no filter. She doesn't care. She's just unapologetically herself, rip, rap, raw. And it's just so funny because she's the type of person who just like, I'm going to laugh at my pain because that's my way of healing.
Yeah, that's her therapy.
Yeah, that's her therapy. Okay. So check it out, Miss Pat Show, BET Plus.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, sis. All right, so I am going to talk about now Black Phone. Ooh, okay. Black Phone, and that, again, a horrible person, Ethan Hawke.
Ethan Hawke is not a horrible person.
No,
let's just
sorry.
Let's just change
As we
that.
just talked about people who are canceled. Ethan Hawke is not a horrible person in real life. He plays a horrible person called the
Shout
Grabber.
out to Ethan Hawke. Shout out to Ethan Hawke.
Shout out. We saw him in person.
Yeah, we saw him. Yeah, is that Miss Gurley? Shout out Miss Gurley.
Shout out everything. So, but yeah, Ethan Hawke plays in this movie called The Black Phone, and basically he plays a character called the Grabber, right? Okay. The rest of the cast, let me just go through a couple of names, because really other than him, it's nobody else that you would probably really know in the cast, but you have the main child character, I guess you would say, is Finney Blake, and that's played by Mason Thames. And then you have Gwen, his sister, also played by Madeline McGraw. And so basically what happens is that the story kind of starts off with, them showing this town, and there's wanted or missing pictures hanging up on posts and light posts and things of that nature of a kid or multiple kids that are missing.
What really quick, what years does this go around? Like, is this like the 90s? Is this like current time?
No, it's not current times. It's probably more like late 80s, early 90s. Okay. Excuse me.
That's because it looked like it was from the previous.
Even the cars that people are driving, the clothes that people are wearing, it's very striped sweaters and a lot of brown, those kind of
lot of wood panel on the cars.
Yeah, wood paneling on the houses, on the walls, and things of that nature. So basically you have it where the kids are in school, and they're walking home, and you just have this eerie feeling that at any given point somebody could just be snatched up off of the street. There have been talks about there being a black van that will pull up and just take away kids, so the police at this point haven't been able to catch the quote unquote grabber. Nobody really has seen it actually happen, but people have theories about what all is going on. Okay. Well, what happens is one day Finney's really good friend, and his name is, actually it's a couple of things. There was this baseball game, and there's a kid, and they're playing against each other. So Finney's on one team, this other kid is on another team. His name is Tristan Pavon, played by Bruce. His name on the movie is Bruce. And so therefore Bruce, is like, hey kid, good job. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, even though his team lost, Finney's team's lost, Bruce was like, hey, you're doing a good job though. So, and they're both kids. Well, like almost the next day, Bruce goes missing. Nobody can find Bruce. Nobody knows what's going on with Bruce. So then it's like, okay, what's going on? Then the next thing you know, a little bit later, he has this best friend who's kind of like is a bully to most kids at school, but for some reason he's really drawn to Finney. And so basically his name is Robin on the movie, and he was played by Miguel Mora. And so basically Robin is like sticking up for Finney. Whenever kids try to bully Finney and stuff, he comes and he's, ready to punch somebody out. He's smoking cigarettes, just whatever. And it's like middle school, early high school kids, Yeah. So anyway, next thing you know, Robin goes missing. So you're like, what in the world is going on? What is happening with these kids?
And what's happening with Finney with these kids? Because it's like, if you're with Finney, you get snatched up.
I have no clue what's going on. So then the next thing that happens, Finney gets snatched up. So you're like, what is going on? So his sister is somebody who has visions. And you don't know, are these real visions? Are these fake visions? Are they dreams? Yeah. Like, what's going on? So basically the sister starts getting flashes and visions and different things that are going on. And she actually goes to like the police and is basically telling them what visions that she has.
She's like a medium type thing? Or
well, like but you don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Okay.
Yeah, you don't know if she's a true psychic or visionary or medium, or if she is just an over imaginative kid. You know what I mean? Because she's younger than Finney even. Okay. So she's like probably truly in middle school. So anyway, so then all of a sudden she's trying to find her brother because she feels like the police aren't doing enough to find. And so that's just like the first, 20 minutes of the movie, if that. And so therefore, okay, at least 2 kids that we've seen have already gotten snatched up. That Finney now has gotten snatched up. His sister has visions, and that she's gone to the police about said visions. Not to mention the sister and the brother are very close, but they're kind of extremely close because their father is abusive. So he is like an alcoholic. He will beat them with a belt until they're raw. Like, he's just a really horrible, bad person. And so therefore, but then he's like trying to be loving and kind, but yet he's torturing them on the other end of that, which is kind of crazy. So anyway, the father finds out Finney is missing, and you're just like, now you care? Like, it was almost like that feeling like, okay, now you care that your son is missing kind of thing. So anyway, so the whole premise of this is that the black phone rings.
That's not attached to anything.
It's not attached to anything. And so even Ethan Hawke's character, the grabber, because the boy is like, well, the phone was ringing, talking to Ethan Hawke. And Ethan Hawke is like, no, it doesn't ring. Like, I used to think it rung too when I was held in this room.
What?
But it doesn't ring.
He was held in the room too?
Supposedly.
Okay. Oh.
So then it's like, yeah, I used to think that I heard the phone ringing too, but it doesn't ring. So then the boy is like, okay, this is weird. So he'll just sit there, and then the phone will ring. And when the phone rings, he's like, trying not to answer it, but it won't stop ringing until he answers it.
That would get on my nerves.
So then he has to answer it, and the voices he hears on the other end of the phone is part of the story of what are you hearing? What is are they trying to, is this voices that are trying to help you, voices that are trying to hurt you, voices that are trying to make you hurt yourself? What's going on with this black phone, and why is it ringing when there's nothing there? Like, it's not attached to anything. And then Ethan Hawke plays this twisted game too of like leaving the door cracked and unlocked, to see who's going to try to escape. But he's at the top of the stairs just waiting, those kind of things. So it's like, I'm trying to test you to see if I can trust you kind of stuff. So it's a weird.
Who's going to trust the person that snatches them up and puts them in the street?
And you know that kids who have gone missing from a year ago never came back.
Never come back.
So. Why am I thinking that I'll be able to get out and get free?
Yeah,
you know what I
mean?
Like,
I know you left that door cracked for
a reason. So yeah. So it is a very
it's an emotional roller coaster.
No, I wouldn't even say it's that.
Suspenseful?
It is suspenseful. Okay. I will give it suspenseful. It's not scary because I don't like scary.
Yeah, but it could be something that happened in real life besides the phone ringing.
Something that could happen.
Phone ringing without it
being attached to anything. But somebody snatching up kids off the street. I mean, it just reminded me of how things like that could happen, and where they're like sex trafficking and all that kind of stuff is happening all the time. And so that part of it is the reality part of it that can be very, tough to watch. Yeah. And just the way in which, like, he wears this mask, which is the mask you see if you look up black phones, so you can see that mask. Sometimes he'll wear the top part, sometimes he'll wear the bottom part, but he's always got some part of that mask on his face, so you never actually get to see that it's Ethan Hawke, basically, because he's always wearing that mask.
Which was weird to me, because I feel like if you've snatched up these kids, why would you wear the mask? Because you already know that they're not going to
escape and get out. Exactly.
So somewhere in your mind, you have this thought that they could escape and they can tell.
But he even had the mask on, like a mask on, when he captured them. Like, so he never not had it on. It was like he was trying to act like he was like a clown or whatever. You know what I mean?
It's like John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah, something crazy like that. Like, if I'm remembering correctly, I could have sworn he had some kind of paint or something on his face where the kids wouldn't have been able to identify him from the beginning. Okay. Like, and then there's other times in the very beginning where you just see this black van ride by and you're just like, oh, is that the van that, and then they show this, I mean, with poor Robin, when he got snatched, all they did is show the black van part and him walking towards it, and then it fades away. Oh. And you're just like, oh my gosh, Robin, no.
Yeah, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your husbands, because they snatching everybody.
Right, and you also know that Robin's a fighter. Like, he fights kids at school. Yeah, exactly. He fights, like, he is a fighter. So if anybody's going to fight, right, exactly. So anyway, it's yet another twisted show about people who are horrible.
Yeah, jacked up people.
Yeah, so that is Black Phone.
Wow. Uh-huh.
It is on, I think I forgot to say what it was on, but it's on Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
Peacock. Sorry, I'm saying the wrong one. It's on NBC Universal, because I'm realizing a lot of movies are now showing on Universal because it's attached to Peacock.
Peacock is blowing up now.
Yeah, so the Black Phone. So that's what I had for my second one. So what do you have, sis?
So what I have is the destruction that happened to Puerto Rico.
So sad.
So Hurricane Fiona did hit Puerto Rico, and it wiped out a lot of the island. Like, I think they said most of the island, like 90% of the island island was underwater. The entire island lost power. And there's some crazy stuff that happened because, so I'm at work and I'm talking to people at work and I was like, yeah, it's crazy, like with Puerto Rico. And people are like, what happened to Puerto Rico?
Nobody's watching the news.
No, it's not even really on the news because the Queen had passed. And there were this, like, you know, the 75 days of her burial and all this other stuff. So it was, there was no real coverage of that.
I feel like I saw it everywhere, but maybe it depends on what you're looking at.
Yeah, but I feel like it was a lot of, oh yeah, hurricanes headed towards Puerto Rico. And in other news, the Queen's being laid to rest. I feel like it was something like that. So, just to start off, I just want to say this. So Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico in 2017, killing 3,000 people. So now the federal government response was slower and less attentive than it was when Harvey hit Texas and when Irma had hit Florida. So, and it's like, but this is a U.S. territory. You got to treat it like you would treat any other states. So that's kind of jacked up. So now it's 5 years later and Hurricane Fiona has like hit and caused major power outages all across the entire island. And they're out of water. Like they have no drinking water. They can't do anything. So once again, they're like just enduring floods and like landslides, and like there are people who are like in their houses and half of their house is gone, but like you can still see their bed. So like they're sitting on their bed. And I mean, it's just, it's sad. So now this time the federal government said, we will cover the entire cost of the recovery for Puerto Rico, of like the relief. And so that's what President Biden said. Hopefully this does happen. Now, if you would like to donate to this cause, there are some sites that you can go to. One is called projecthope.org. You have globalgiving.org. You have mercycorps.org. And you have helpsalvationarmy.org. So I was saying I just wanted to mention this just to get it out there so people did know. So definitely if you have it in your heart to go ahead and help the people in Puerto Rico, it's not like they can go anywhere. They're on an island.
They're on an island, right?
They can't go anywhere. So definitely see if you can get with someone to, help with some relief efforts towards helping these people rebuild their whole entire country back to what it was. Yeah, but that's all I just had for it. I just wanted to put a light on that because a lot of people, I feel like, it wasn't as big as a story as it should have been. Right,
because right now they're dealing with Ian. And they're going through Florida, and that is on 24/7 on the loop.
Everywhere.
So therefore, I see what you mean. Like, well, then why wouldn't Puerto Rico? Like, people are still dealing with the concerns and problems and issues of Puerto Rico.
If you want to, I mean, I didn't even know that something happened with Alaska.
Oh yeah, the typhoon.
Remember Alaska had a typhoon.
Yeah, the typhoon.
And so anybody helping Alaska? Like I haven't
nobody has mentioned that one.
I didn't even know when this happened, and I just saw something that just like popped up on my thing, and you had Googled it. So it's like, what are we talking about? What is happening that we are not focusing on helping other people if we're supposed to be? I mean, it's just, I don't know. It just shows how our country is.
Yeah. It's like if you are supposed to be a global world leader in regards to helping.
The free world.
Right. Exactly. But then how are we allowing our own to go without?
Yes,
and not covering that as much as we would the Queen's death, which isn't a part of the United States. Exactly. Basically. Like, I mean, it was fine to cover.
What was the 4th of July for at all? You know
what
I'm saying? Like, we didn't have to go through all that. That's how I see it. But I mean, I would say help your own. If you get the chance to help your own, help your own. Like,
right.
I mean, I understand our army is big enough that we can go and help other countries. Well, so how about this? Send some of our army to other countries.
The National Guard.
The National
to help
Guard.
Out with Puerto Rico,
send the Navy. What are they doing? They're just on their base. Send them. Just be like, yo, go help them clean up. Go help them do some stuff. So they're not just sitting on a base, like just relaxing and chilling. We have that many people to be able to do this. So if we have
do we know for sure that they haven't?
No, I don't know for sure that they haven't. But I'm just saying, like it's no coverage on it, and I feel like if there was coverage on it, then that means that they would be showing everything, what is actually happening.
And it would be more of a spotlight on it to the point that people wouldn't allow there not to be the level of support that the people should be getting, because it's like, wait, this is on the news all the time. Where are the people? Where's the water? Where's the electrician, like the electrical companies and things like that going out there to help them to restore everything. Exactly. And I do know that companies do that as well. Like they'll dispatch their, water, I don't know what they're called, like treatment people, to get the water systems back on, the electrical people to get the electricity back on, like all those things to help build back up the infrastructure. But I went to Puerto Rico 2019 or was it 18? It might have been 18 after Maria had hit. Because you said it was 17, right? 17, I feel like I did a cruise and we spent a day in San Juan, and you could still see some of the buildings and the devastation and things that had happened, and you're just like, wow, this was like forever ago. Yeah, it was like, it was a while ago, and yet it's still rebuilding. But it takes time. Yeah. Those things take time.
And then I've heard people say, Puerto Rico is like a country that is going under. They do have that, was it $1 billion, like $600 billion, they're in the hole or whatever. But it's just like, okay, I get that, but so that means that you can't help these people?
Right.
Just because they're in the hole?
Well, and because they don't get the opportunity to vote like the rest of Americans do.
Well, so D.C. doesn't either.
No, Guam. Guam, U.S. Samoa.
Yeah, what was it?
Places
Panama?
Like that.
Are we Panama? We have Panama?
I can't remember. Okay, but I guess we should have not gone through that.
Yeah, if we didn't even know.
Yeah, but
it's okay. We gotta hire somebody for that.
I know that they have some areas that, if a senator or a congressman isn't going to potentially get any benefit out of it,
then they don't care.
Maybe they just don't focus on it.
Yeah, it's like, you're getting money out of my pocket
that way. Yeah. But that's kind of what some of it is. So what's happening in the contiguous, am I saying that right? United States, here may seem to matter more to some politicians, than what would happen in a Guam, Samoa.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Puerto Rico,
I have some friends that have family in Puerto Rico, and they're just like, they're still struggling. So,
and maybe even in Alaska, which is why we haven't even heard about what's going on with Alaska.
Yeah, with Alaska,
and we haven't.
And the things that's happening now is that when Fiona hit, it hit a lot of rural areas.
Okay.
And then with the typhoon, that also hit some rural areas. Mm-hmm. So therefore, there wasn't a lot of, there's not a lot of people around.
Okay.
So therefore, I guess the efforts are slower. But I feel like something got to be done. Hopefully something is being done. We got to do something. Yeah. We got to help our own. Because if we don't help each other, nobody's going to help us.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
But I just want to say that, like I said, just check out some information about Puerto Rico if you do want to give.
Okay. Well, thank you, sis, for that. All right. And so my last thing to talk about today is a show on Netflix called In the Dark. Okay. And so In the Dark, and you probably constantly see it when you're on Netflix and scrolling through, because it always seems to be on that front page for some reason to me.
Is it like one of the top ones?
It is a top 10 this week. I don't know if it always is or not. But In the Dark, it has a lady who's walking and she has a dog with her. That's all it is.
Oh,
so if you've ever seen the lady who's walking with the dog and she's blind,
because you always see the clip of her just walking in the grocery store. She walks past all the people, puts her stuff right there. She knows there are people in the line.
Oh, yeah.
But she's going to use her disability to her advantage.
Exactly.
But I like that. I respect that. You know what I'm saying? People are going to treat you like crap. Hey, do what you got to do.
All I'm going to say is she is yet another horrible person. I'm just going to say it.
I believe that.
Because she does it, for the groceries. She does it for the drugstore. And they're like, Murphy, you came to the front of the line again. There were people in line. She's like, oh, really? I can't see. I'm blind. And it's like,
that's so funny.
And it's like, so they're like, okay, what do you want? This, that, and some condoms. Like, she's just like off the chain.
But she's just a regular person.
She's a regular person, but she's a horrible person because she is very narcissistic, only cares about herself, puts her friends in horrible situations, lies to her parents consistently. She is not a good blind person.
I got you.
That's the only way I can say it for her is like she tries. She has part of her character that is good and part of her character that will sleep with any guy who wants to sleep with a blind person.
Oh, nice.
So, cool. That's kind of Murphy. So basically, yes, this is a story of a blind lady named Murphy based in Chicago. She's a pretty angry person most of the time. Every time somebody comes up, like a guy, be like, hey, can I buy you a drink? Because she's always at a bar. And she's like, no. And then, they're like, oh, okay. Like, I was just trying to be nice. And, people can't always tell that she's blind.
Yeah. But she doesn't really.
5 minutes later, she might be like, let's just go into the bathroom. Come on, come with me. And he was like, well, I wanted to take you out for a date. And she was like, nah, let's go. Like, that's Murphy. As an example, her family owns a facility that teaches dogs to be seeing eye dogs because they adopted a daughter who was blind. So therefore, you would think, oh, this is great to have a seeing eye dog company. Murphy is outside while this couple comes up to drop off a $10,000 check to support the efforts. Nice. She takes the check in, gives it to her parents. The parents go to cash it. It's been stopped. Why has it been stopped, you say? Because the husband realized that he kind of was attracted to Murphy. Never slept with a blind girl before.
Oh, God.
His wife goes off on a business trip.
Now
he brings Murphy to the house.
Why?
He ends up telling, Murphy, oh, yeah, my wife's on a business trip. Well, guess what happens? Somebody opens the door. It's the wife. So now he's, like, struggling to try to, like, get himself to be, like, oh, hey, babe, what's going on? He's telling Murphy, go hide.
How does a blind person go hide at somebody else's house?
She hides under a glass table. And so the wife walks into the room and is like, hi again, Murphy. And she's like, this is a glass table, isn't it? And she was like, yes, get out. And so she's grabbing all her stuff. Well, she leaves her cane inside there. And she's like, oh, my God, how do I even get home? Yeah. I don't even have my cane. I don't have my dog. Like, what?
How
so
she didn't even know where she's
vulnerable. And she's just standing at a food cart outside like, hey, how do I call somebody? My battery's dead on my phone. She does things and doesn't think of the consequences of the actions. And now her parents are like, so you slept with the guy. Yeah. And now our check is now we've purchased $10,000 worth of dogs and equipment and everything to get them ready to go for being seeing eye dogs. And we can't even do that now. So she's like, I'll take care of it, kind of thing. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff. So anyway, so she has a friend named Tyson who, when she was one time walking, blind woman with a dog and a cane, somebody robs her. Like, they basically kick her butt. They hit her in the face. They beat her up. And they're like, what kind of horrible person does this to a blind person, right? So this young black guy who's, like, hanging out in the streets, he, like, basically punches at the guy, gets the guy to get off of her, calls 911, takes care of her, and she is now forever indebted to Tyson. She's like, that's my boy. We're best friends. They're always doing videos together and talking to each other and hanging out together, and he doesn't look at her as somebody who's blind, so she really appreciates him because he doesn't, she gives him some mess, but he doesn't put up with the mess, and he doesn't cater to her. Touch my face so you'll know what I look like. Well, this time she's out there, she's walking her dog, she touches the face, and she's like, oh my God, Tyson. And she's like shaking at Tyson and trying to get him to move and, whatever. And she's just like, let me go inside, call 911. So she goes inside, calls 911. The police come, nobody. She was like, oh, he wasn't dead? It felt like he might have been dead. I'm not sure, but I couldn't see, but it felt like his face. I know it was Tyson. So then she's trying to convince his cousin, his mom, other people that I think Tyson's dead. Like, I felt his face. And everybody's like, well, you're blind, so we don't really know if that was him. And they didn't find a body when they came back there. So it could have been somebody who was just passed out drunk. They got up, they left, Yeah. And so the whole story of In the Dark is about her trying to find out who Tyson's killer is, if he's dead, because she feels like the police aren't doing enough.
Yeah, I get that.
So she ends up engaging with a cop. And it's funny because on her phone, like, everybody's name is something, like, so she can voice dial.
Yeah, hear it.
No, so she can voice dial people. So she's like, the cop. And it's like, oh, please call the cop. And then it's like, oh, it rings to this guy. And then she just has different names for different people. So anyway, so she ends up engaging with and becoming friends almost with the cop and the cop's daughter, who, guess what, is blind. So the cop's daughter is blind from, I think, a car accident.
Okay.
And so he was like, oh, it'll be good for her to have somebody in her life who also is blind. But then you realize that Murphy is probably not the person that you want your 10-year-old or 12-year-old daughter to be hanging around with. So, it's just like, oh, thanks for saying that to my daughter. Now she's talking to me about it. And she was like, oh, sorry, who you were having her around.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Wanted us to be friends kind of thing. So, anyway, she is very gruff, very, it's like she's just a jerk. Okay. She's just like just a mean jerk of a person.
But they say hurt people. So she's a hurt person.
She's a hurt person, and this guy who is a nice guy, although I think he does something with drugs. But anyway, but he seems to be a nice guy, and so he's like trying to break down her wall, break down her shell, and was like, "Look, let's date." And she's like, "Nah, let's just do a one night stand, be done with it. Yeah. It's all good." Well, he ends up, let's just say, breaking something in the apartment to the point that he can't leave the apartment because he just can't even walk downstairs or maneuver and stuff like that. And so based on that, she has to spend more time with him, and that creates it where she actually does start to like him, and they start to date. But she does really care about him, but she doesn't know how to care about people because she's like, either people disregard me, discard me, or they just, are using me. Kind of situation. And so, and like you said, being a hurt person, she wants to hurt people before they hurt her.
Exactly, yeah.
So, anywho, the show really, everything that I pretty much talked about is like from the first couple of episodes. And I still haven't finished the entire season. I'm close. But it is, just showing the history. It does some flashes of showing the history of her and Tyson together. So you really hope that Tyson is okay.
Oh, yeah,
it Tyson. Shows that some people think Tyson just either ran away or met a girl and is gone somewhere else. People are saying that they got messages from Tyson since he's been gone, but she's like, how could you? I felt his face. I know he was dead, Yeah. And then,
So they never show that it's Tyson?
They did not. Up into a point, right? No, they never showed who she was feeling. Yeah, who she was feeling. Yep, correct. So anyway, that is In the Dark. It's a pretty good show, really. I've been enjoying it. Funny enough, I was at the hairdresser's getting my hair done when she had it on, and I was like, "What's the name of this?" Because I started it on like episode 3 at her place, so I had to go back and watch 1 and 2 to kind of catch up because I was like, I feel like I'm missing something here. I knew Tyson was gone at that point, but I didn't know the history, the story, how these two got together, because she's like a 30-year-old woman with a teenager. Like, how in the world did they become really good friends? And then you kind of find out that whole history. But personally, I think if you want something that, yes, she's a jerk of a person.
She's a horrible person, but she's trying to do good.
She's trying to do good, and even in the way that she tries to do good, it's like
she does in a very bad way.
But yeah, it's almost like, I'm trying to do good, but I'm going to force you as my roommate to come to the terrible part of town.
But that's all she knows.
In the middle of midnight to see if we can find his phone or, whatever. And it's like everybody's scared. Everybody doesn't want to do it. Everybody's like, why am I going to get arrested for hanging out with you? Like, it's stuff like that.
Yeah.
That, she puts that pressure on other people, and it's almost like, well, you can't do it by yourself, so okay, I'll go with you kind of thing. So, but anyway, In the Dark on Netflix. Decent show to watch in regards to that. So what do you have?
All right, so my last topic. So this one is, this one also is from Netflix. This one's called Father Stew. Don't know if anybody's seen the things for that. All right, so Father Stew. It's actually based on a true story. I don't know what year this came out. Actually, I was trying to figure out that. It came out this year. Okay, cool. Mm. So it came out this year. Father Stew is based on a true story. Now the story is of it's a man who he's a washed up fighter.
Okay.
He's a washed-up boxer, right? He's like in his late 30s, so that's the age when like boxers start to like wean their way out and like try to do other stuff. Mm-hmm. But he is not a good boxer. Like he never made it to the pros. He's still trying to and everything. Right. Yeah, he's He's this place is doing like an open boxing night. I'm gonna go over here and sign up, and I can win the money.
Okay.
So like he's good, but he doesn't have the. I guess he just doesn't have the discipline to go ahead and
be great.
Be great. Yes. So now he's forced into retirement for some health problems.
Oh, okay.
Not gonna get into his health problems or anything, but just basically like. Boxing is not his friend anymore.
Oh, okay.
All right. So he moves to Hollywood. He tells his mom, he's like, "Ma, I'm on this woman too. I'm gonna go ahead and move to Hollywood, and I'm gonna become an actor. Be an actor out there."
Okay.
So once he moves to Hollywood, tries out acting. He works at a butcher shop. This is not Jeffrey Dahmer, by the way, but he's working at a butcher shop, and he's like. Asking everybody, he's just, "Oh, what do you want?" Like you see his whole thing the whole time he's out there. He's like, "Hey, yeah, man, can I get you? All right, so you want like 3 pounds of this? All right, cool. Hey, do you have any like family or friends in like the
trying to get
into
the industry still.
Do you have any family or friends in the entertainment industry? No? Okay. And then later on you see him, like it's a montage of that. And then later on you see him, he's like, "Hey, here's your lamb shanks. You got anybody in the family?"
Oh my God. He was so excited at first. And then he's like,
"All right, come on. You don't have anybody at all? You don't know anybody?" Like he starts to
wow.
snap. Yeah, he starts to get a little upset. But he does do some commercials and stuff like that. So, he still gets some money coming in.
All right.
So, now this woman comes into the store. Attractive Hispanic woman comes into the store. He's looking at her. He's just like, "Hey, what can I get you?" And she's like, "I don't eat meat." She's like, I'm a pescatarian. And he was just like, "Okay, well, what else can I do for you?" So he leaves the customer standing there while he's supposed to be like getting the meat for this guy. He starts talking to this girl, and he's like walking around the store trying to help her out.
And the customer's still waiting.
The customer's still waiting. So then she leaves. So now they go over, they come over to him. They like, "Stu, you gotta stay behind the meat counter. You can't just walk off." He was just like, "Well, why don't you get some fish in here? If we got some fish in here, I wouldn't have to walk around and like follow this lady around just so I can get her name and number. Like I have to stand back here." He's just like, "I gotta work on this meat. This doesn't make any sense." So it's so funny.
Oh my God.
But basically what happens is now he's like he's infatuated with this girl.
Oh wow.
And he's like trying to figure out, he's like, "Hey, do you know that girl? Like where she came from?" And then one of the ladies is like, "Look, I don't know who she is, but she just put something on the bulletin board, so maybe you should check it out and see what it is." It is a bulletin for church.
Oh.
She is a really strict Catholic girl, right? So
let me guess, he's gonna become Catholic.
It gets better. It gets better. So you think that it's going to be like a comedy? Because, by the way, Mark Wahlberg is Father Stu.
Oh, okay. Maybe now I have seen that clip on something.
Yeah. So now you have, he looks at the flyer. He's like, okay. So then he pulls up in the truck. He's like fixing his hair in the mirror and everything. And he sees her stand out there. And then he sees her standing outside the church. And then he's across the street like a stalker out the window. He's like, hey, how you doing? Hey, over here. Hey.
God,
and then she just kind of looks and then just turns around and goes inside. And he's like, oh man. And then he just goes into the church. And now he's never been to church in his life. You can definitely tell that because as he walks in, he's just looking around and like everybody's standing up. So he's like standing up beside everybody else and everybody sits down and he's looking around. He's like, "Oh, okay. Oh, we're sitting down. Okay, cool. Yeah." So he's sitting down and then she's looking at him. She's just like, "Oh my God, this is creepy."
Yeah.
So then it just goes into their whole relationship and like how he just wanted to be with her so bad. He was just like, "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. You look like you're very sweet. Like I saw you help this old lady. I saw you do this. I saw you do that." He was like, "That's the type of person I need in my life."
Aww.
And then from there, she's like, "Well, I don't just date thugs or whatever." She's like, "You would have to be baptized." He said, "Okay, I'm going to do it. I'll do it. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it." And then what does he do? He goes and he gets baptized. While he's getting baptized, it is the funniest thing ever. Because I guess Catholic baptisms, they just like dunk your head or something like that. So he's over the little holy water dish. Yeah. And then it's so funny because look, he goes and takes his shirt off and all the women in church are like, "Oh." And then so she's like all shocked because she's like, I guess she's like one of like the ladies who does a lot of stuff in the church or whatever. So she's standing there and she's just kind of like you see her blushing and she's like looking down and looking out the corner of her eye and everything. And then so he bends down and then they're like, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, and like dumping his head. And then like he picks his head up and he's like, like looking at her, and he's like nodding his head. He's like, yeah, you like that, right?
Yeah.
That's for you. And then he's like looking at people. He's like, yeah, hey, how you doing? You know, and they're still like baptizing. They had to shove his head back down. So so then he does that. So now they're like dating. He's told his family, like his parents are like they're not horrible people. His father is not the best person. His mother could have done better with her life. But he's telling them, and they're just like, yeah, right. Yeah, you got baptized. That's funny. Because, like, they never believed in God or anything. So, going throughout this, now, he is so into the church and so much into helping
that he's going to be.
He decides he wants to be a priest. And he's in a relationship with this girlfriend.
Yeah.
And when he tells her, well, he gets into an accident. And that's how it comes about.
Okay.
But when he tells her, he was just like, yeah, I'm here for a reason. And they look at a diner. He's like, I'm here for a reason. I think that it's I want to keep going further in the religion. And I want to go to like seminary school and I want to be a priest. And she just looks at him and she was just like,
we can't date if you're a priest.
Yeah, she was like, how? She said, I changed a lot of my life for you. She was like, I introduced you to my family. I did this and did that. He said, I got baptized for you.
Yeah.
What do you think? You know, so he's like going all into it. But he's just like, no, this is something that I definitely need to do. I need to do this. I need to do this. And throughout it, he definitely does do it. And he is the biggest knucklehead. Like, he is cussing the whole time while he's there.
Gosh.
Yeah, but it's so funny because he's genuine, but he's cussing, like, because that's his mouth. Like, that's the only way that he knows how to talk. And, like, he, like, pays his dues himself. Like, he works extra so he can pay the dues for the seminary schools. So, like, he's really into it.
He's trying,
Then, since this is based on a true story, this is actually what happens to him. He actually ends up with a disease. I can't remember the name of the disease, but it starts to eat away at his muscles and his joints and everything. So now he's like becoming paralyzed. It kind of reminds me of like a Stephen Hawking type thing about what happened to him, but not as bad because
like
he doesn't.
Like a Lou Gehrig's or a ALS.
Maybe ALS or something like that. But yes, so now he's. They told him, it was like, so you understand that in order for you to be a priest, you have to walk down this aisle and be able to do all of this stuff in the ceremony in order for you to be a priest. And he was just like, I'm going to do it. And he could barely walk. He could barely use his hands and stuff like that. So, and you could tell the girl was still in love with him. She would come and visit him there. And he would, like, ask her questions, like, so are you dating somebody? And blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And, like, she's sitting there crying. She's like, you're the love of my life. And he's just like, well, God's the love of my life. So, I mean, it's a really good story.
With one intention, ended with
with a whole nother one.
Intention.
So when I'm watching, I'm like, oh, this is a good movie. And I'm just like, oh, my God, this is so sad.
Yeah,
like,
it's like comedy and sad at the same time.
It's like, it's definitely something that, like, people would watch if they just, it's like a Hallmark movie.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't. My eyes watered a couple of times.
Of course, it sounds like it would. Times. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What station? I mean, what channel is it on?
This is on Netflix. This is on Netflix. Okay. But it is good. And Father Stu, I think he lived for a while. I think he might be passed away by now. I believe he has passed away. But it's based on a true story, and at the end they show Father Stu.
Oh, so that
and
you
like
can
everything
see
like
real
that. So
wow.
Definitely. If you want a tearjerker that has some comedy in it, check that out. Father Stu, based on a real story. Oh yeah, wait,
STU.
STU. Okay. I gotta tell you everybody who was in it because the cast. Like, I was just like, I thought this guy was like not even acting anymore. So you got Mark Wahlberg, who was Father Stu, and then you have Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson plays his father, Bill.
Oh, wow. You know, I did hear that Mel Gibson was in something recently.
Yeah, I didn't even know. What does Mel Gibson do?
And Father Stu, the real Father Stu, died in 2014.
2014, okay. But like, I didn't even know I thought Mel Gibson, like, kind of got, like, canceled a while ago.
Got canceled, but they're slowly
bringing him back. I mean, I can understand that. So you got Jackie Weaver a lot. I don't know how many people know Jackie Weaver. I love her. She's like the softest, sweetest voice, little big poppy eyes. But I've also seen her in shows where she curses like a sailor. It's so great. But she plays Father Stu's mom. Okay. You have Teresa Ruiz, who plays Carmen, who is a love interest. Then you have Aaron Moten, who plays Ham, who's actually his best friend, who, like, they get like when he first joins the church, Ham becomes his best friend.
Oh, okay.
Like Ham's just like, hey, like so you don't come to church ever, do you? And then then they go from there. They go through like seminary school and everything together. And then you have Cody Fern, which Cody Fern, you would know him from American Horror Stories.
Okay.
He was I think he was one of the guys in Coven. Oh no, it wasn't Coven. What was the one when they were like in the bomb shelter? Whatever one that is.
Oh shoot! If you hadn't asked me, I would know.
What is the name of that thing? I don't know. But but he
He's been in a whole lot of stuff on it, a lot of versions of
Ryan Murphy stuff. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But and he is actually he's supposed to be the guy who is, I guess I don't know if he liked Carmen or not, but once Father Stu came around, then I was just like, I don't like this guy. Like, he's like, I have been doing this my entire life. My father had, like, made me go to school so I could do this and blah, 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 and trying to be a priest. And, like, this is what I'm destined to do. Yeah. And you just show up and you just pick a day and you want to do it. Oh, my so, goodness. Like, they become frenemies.
Frenemies are fun. All right, cool.
So, yeah, I like it.
Well, that's good. Father Stu, everybody.
On Netflix.
On Netflix. All right, everyone. Well, that is this week's edition of Sestra-Tainment. You all might have realized that we were gone 1 week. Yeah. And we unfortunately had passing in our family. Yes. So shout out to Stephen.
R.I.P. Stephen.
R.I.P. And we will be back next week with another episode. So everybody take care, stay safe, be blessed. Bye.